The Ouija board. I was 14 the summer my cousin Nate brought the Ouija board to the lake house. The place had been in my family for decades. A 2-story log cabin perched on the edge of Bear Creek Lake, about 40 minutes from the nearest grocery store, and even farther from anything resembling entertainment. No Wi-Fi. No cell service unless you hiked halfway up the old fire road. That's why my parents loved it, no distractions. A week each summer to get away from the noise. For me and Nate, who was 16 and just cool enough to think everything was boring, it meant finding ways to kill time. We swam until the lake water numbed our fingers, explored the woods, and on rainy days, dug through the attic for board games and comic books. The attic smelled like dust and cedar. It had low, slanted ceilings and narrow windows where moths battered themselves against the glass. We'd found plenty of odd things up there over the years, faded Polaroids, tin lunchboxes, a deer skull once, but that day, Nate had something different. "Check it out," he said, holding up a battered cardboard box. The word Parker Brothers was printed in faded letters across the top, along with a picture of a wooden board covered in the alphabet. "You brought a Ouija board?" I asked. "Found it at a thrift store before we left," he said with a grin. "Thought it might be fun." I'd heard about Ouija boards, mostly from kids at school who swore they could summon dead relatives or hear voices in the dark. I didn't believe any of it, but I liked the idea of pretending. Rain had been falling since morning, and the sky outside the attic windows was the color of wet concrete. We set it up on the living room coffee table, the smell of damp pinewood all around us. The lake beyond the windows was choppy, little whitecaps breaking against the shore. Nate lit 2 candles, he thought it made things more authentic, and placed the planchette in the center of the board. "You're supposed to put your fingers on it," he instructed. I obeyed. "Okay, let's ask something," Nate said. Is anyone here?" The planchette didn't move. Nate smirked. "Guess the dead are busy." We tried a few more questions. "What's your name? How did you die? Are we alone?" Nothing happened. My arms were getting tired. Then Nate asked, "Who wants to talk to us?" At first, I thought he was pushing it. The planchette slid slowly, dragging under our fingertips, toward the letter E. Then M. Then I. L. Y. We looked at each other. Emily. Nate read aloud. We both laughed nervously. Emily was harmless. A little girl's name. Not Lucifer or the Butcher or anything scary. Just Emily. "How old are you?" Nate asked. The planchette slid to 1, then 2. 12, I said softly. "That's close to my age." Nate grinned. "Where are you from?" Before the planchette could move, a thump echoed from upstairs. We froze. "It's an old house," Nate said, but I could hear the tightness in his voice. Settling. We decided we'd had enough for the night. Nate put the board away, slid it under the coffee table. We blew out the candles. The next morning, the rain stopped. Sunlight poured across the lake, and we spent most of the day swimming and fishing off the dock. I didn't think about the Ouija board again until that evening. I was upstairs grabbing a hoodie from my room when I saw it. The wall between my bed and the window had something scratched into the wood. 5 letters, Emily. The letters were jagged, uneven, as if carved with a nail or knife. I ran my fingers over them, they were fresh. The wood around them was pale, untouched by years of sun. I knew no one had been in my room that morning. My parents had gone into town, and Nate had been with me all day. A slow chill crept down my back. I didn't say anything at dinner. My parents would roll their eyes and tell me Nate was playing a prank. But later that night, while my parents watched TV downstairs, I cornered him in the hallway. "You didn't carve it?" I asked. He looked confused. "Carve what?" "In my room. On the wall. Her name." Nate swore he hadn't. But the way his eyes flickered toward the stairs made me uneasy. The next few days passed quietly. The weather stayed clear, and we kept busy on the lake. But every night, I'd glance at that carved name and feel a tightness in my chest. On the 5th night, I woke to a sound. Crying. It was soft at first. So soft I thought I was dreaming. But as I sat up, I realized it was coming from inside my room. From under my bed. I didn't move. I just listened. The crying was high-pitched. A girl's voice. It rose and fell like she was trying not to be heard. "Hello?" I whispered. The crying stopped. My skin prickled. The silence was worse than the sound. I leaned over the edge of my bed, my hair brushing the floor. Nothing. I was too scared to check. I pulled the covers over my head and lay there until morning. I told Nate the next day. He laughed, but not in a teasing way. More like he didn't want to admit he believed me. "Maybe we should try the board again," he suggested. "See if she'll answer." I didn't want to. But part of me needed to know. We set it up in the living room again that night. My parents had gone to bed, leaving us in the dim glow of the fireplace. Our fingers rested on the planchette. "Emily," Nate began, "are you the one crying in my cousin's room?" The planchette moved instantly. "No." "Emily," Nate began, "are you the one crying in my cousin's room?" The planchette moved instantly. "No." I swallowed. "Then who is?" The planchette spelled DONTLETHEMIN. "Let who in?" Nate asked. The planchette went still. We tried again. No answer. "Let who in?" Nate asked. The planchette went still. We tried again. No answer. Nothing but dust and an old sock. But the crying hadn't stopped. It was still there. Only now, it was behind me. The next morning, Nate and I went to the attic to look for more clues. We found an old trunk full of photographs, black and white shots of the lake house, the dock, the woods. Some had children in them, their faces solemn. One photo stood out. A girl in a white dress, maybe 12 years old. Dark hair. Standing in front of the house, holding a doll. On the back, written in faded pencil, "Emily, summer 1954. "Guess she's real," Nate murmured. We kept digging, but there was nothing about what happened to her. No newspaper clippings. No family stories. My parents had never mentioned an Emily. The final night in the lake house is the one I can't forget. The crying woke me again, but this time, it was loud. Urgent. Coming from inside the closet. I shook Nate awake, He'd fallen asleep in the armchair in my room. "It's happening," I whispered. He grabbed a flashlight and opened the closet door. Nothing. Then the crying started again, now from under the bed. We both crouched, shining the light. The beam fell on a shape in the shadows. Small. Pale. It crawled toward us. I screamed. Nate pulled me back, slamming the closet door shut instead of the bedroom door. I don't know why, panic, maybe. I screamed. Nate pulled me back, slamming the closet door shut instead of the bedroom door. I don't know why, panic, maybe. From the darkness of the room, a voice spoke. "Hi." Childlike. "You let me in." The crying stopped. And something laughed. We left the next morning. My parents said they'd close up the lake house for the season. But I still hear it. The crying. Every night. And I'm not at the lake anymore. It's under my bed. Emily never answered us on the Ouija board. Something else used her name to get in. And now she's here. Waiting.